call this meeting for the city of San Juan at 6 p.m. May we rise for invocation? Mr. Arjona, can you lead us in invocation, please?
Dear Lord, thank you for your blessings you have bestowed upon us. We pray that this new coming fiscal year is a successful one, as all the others. We pray that this meeting is successful and productive. Guide us during our discussions. Thank you for being our source of guidance. As always, give you the glory for what we accomplish in Jesus' name. We always pray.
Amen. May face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May be seated. At this time, under public comments, I'm going to go ahead and start.
the presentations, we have an update on the new City of San Juan Transit Terminal Building / City Hall. We have Mr. Oscar Cancino, Project Manager, to give us an update on that particular project.
Good evening, Mayor Commissioners. Oscar Cancino with Strada Engineering Consulting. I'm here to provide you an update status on the project. I believe that there's an item or a handout in your agenda pack, but I'm going to step back a little bit and go back to some of the things we've accomplished so far to engage with the participating funding agency, which is the Valley Metro under the Hidalgo County MPO, which will be helping to fund part of the project for the new terminal / City Hall project. First off, we completed the environmental assessment of the site after it was, of course, purchased and taken in hand for the subject property along 6th Street. There were no significant impacts found. After this, the review of the document was then put together to NEPA standards, which is a requirement that's needed for the funding agency to be able to approve the environmental document and, of course, allow us to be able to go into agreement and be able to actually start drawing from those funds that are available. We determined that the project met the criteria for categorical exclusion, which is the first and the most minor environmental document type that there is. So that has been submitted to the funding agency, so hopefully we receive word back that everything's in order. I don't foresee any issues with it. As I mentioned, the review of the initial site assessment did not have or contain any significant environmental impacts that the project would provide to the area or the surrounding study area. With this, there is, of course, a grant application associated with the submission of that document. One includes the letter of commitment, which has been executed and submitted. Additionally, there's some project controls documents that were required. Of course, one of them being the executive summary, the other the control total summary, to a description of the project benefits, the location map and associated layouts and exhibits, and of course the budget activity. I believe what's included in your packet is a milestone. It's a tentative schedule and with a few of the dollar amounts that are associated with the project. Of course, with recent additional financing and funding from issuing of certificates of obligation, the initial project amount that's been approved by the funding agency is the $2.4 million project cost. Of course, with an additional $2 million with the potential coming in from the inject of the certificates of obligation. So the FTA or the federal transit amount that they will be providing to the city of San Juan is the $1.9 million that you see there. Of course, the city will then provide the 20% match, which is approximately $480,000. $235,000 of that, of course, being the subject property or the valuation of the property that's included in there. Of course, with that in hand, the next step is to enter into interlocal agreement with the funding agency once these documents and the environmental is approved. All this has been submitted over to Valley Metro, to the MPO, for review and approval. So we're just waiting on that word back so we can then move forward with the next steps, which is the interlocal. Once that is executed, we will then move forward to the procurement process of the, of course, professional services to actually start the design process and then move forward from there into construction. The milestones that are tentatively set up here, again, for procurement, once we get approval, we have between, of course, this last December and into February. So then in this time frame, we're expecting, of course, the approval from the funding agency to give us the okay to move forward. Once this is in hand, then we can start with, of course, the design process. Then again, we've got a tentative construction timeline of about a little over a year. We're estimating for between 12 and 14 months, of course, allowing for rain days and so on and so forth, just to be realistic. So with that in mind, I'll open it up to any questions. Of course, there's quite a bit of documents that have been submitted. The city is in hand with a lot of these, especially the environmental. That was quite involved in getting that cleared up. But at this time, I'll entertain any questions that the commission may have.
You and me? We have two total project numbers.
Yes.
You have a $4,400,000, $29, and then you have the $4,165,029.
Yes, the reason for that is, again, the funding agency through Valley Metro they have a cap on it. They're only looking at the 2.4 million total project cost
Right.
for the project.
Correct.
The additional amounts, which from the certificates of obligation, because anything over that, that is the cap. The reason it's limited to that is because the maximum amount that they have available is actually the 1.9 million.
Okay.
So that is what we'll manage directly with them. And of course, then the other inject will not be, it'll be identified in the agreement, but it's not part of the actual funding program. That'll be part of the exchange between the city and Valley Metro. So that was done just to make a distinction of what the cap is from coming in from the federal grant.
What would be the time that you think we're going to go for RFQs for this project?
We're looking, again, if word back, and once we get the approval, of course, executing the interlocal could be done at any time. Once that is in place, here within the next month or so, we can start going out for and advertising for professional services, which is that timeframe that's identified between December to February. So anytime between now and into next month, we could, as early as the end of this month, begin the advertisement process.
When you said 400-something thousand, that was our part, that would be the minimum that, required for this because the property is valued at 260,000.
Yeah, 235,
So that
yes.
means that less than 200,000 would be our minimum to match this
Yes,
funding.
yes.
That doesn't mean we cannot go higher, but, but
Yes,
that
exactly.
would be the minimum.
Yes. Yes, they are taking into the property as an in-kind match that is allowed by the funding agency, so that was cleared ahead of time. That is one of the reasons the city moved forward in the purchasing of the property.
Cancino, who's the contact person you're dealing with on the MPO?
Tom Logan is the lead.
And so how often do you meet or discuss this matter with Mr. Tom Logan?
I meet with the staff. Of course, we visit at least monthly for updates, because I do also, on behalf of the city, go, and he sits on the MPO as well. So of course, not related to this matter, but transportation matters, we go ahead and discuss then the status and update on the projects at that time as well, aside from our regular meetings.
With the last conversation you had with him, how does this project seem? How does it go on? Is it
One of the things is, they've done several of these type of projects. We've talked about visiting the site in Edinburgh and one in Brownsville. So once he gets word back to us from their division group, we're planning to do a field trip, which of course will extend that to the city manager's office to disseminate with the rest of the commission, and set up a time that's more convenient for everyone to be able to participate in this visit and actually see how this transit terminal will end up looking like. And of course, the process requires an application with it, but there's fair confidence that, of course, it is going to be funded. It's already programmed into the MPO and into the specific category that allows us to expend these monies.
Thank you so much. Any other questions for Mr. Cancino? No?
Thank you, Commissioner.
No, thank you, sir.
The next item, Mayor Commissioners, is we have a report on Noche de Paz. Before you have the report that was passed by Mr. Willingham. Mr. Willingham?
Good evening. I passed out the 2018 expenditure report for Paz, and I'll be happy to entertain any questions you may have regarding this event.
If I may,
Yes, sir.
when was this report available, Mr. Patrick?
Finalized
Finalized, yes.
the end of the week, last week, I believe.
The end of the week, last week. Why wasn't it included in the packet?
Mr. Patrick wasn't available, so I didn't want to include it because he was out sick last week. I had some questions on the report before, so I didn't want to include something that was not, to my
Finalized.
opinion, finalized. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. Close it door.
Who was soliciting sponsorships on our behalf?
That was Parks and Rec and as well as EDC.
1,500? That's it?
Yeah, it was a little bit lower. We did have verbal commitments from several others that at the end, unfortunately, didn't, come through at the end.
I see that we have a loss of 17,000. I'm sure we would have maybe pushed it a little bit more on the sponsorship side. We wouldn't have had a loss. But
Correct. I will say, this was a bigger event than it has been. At the end there of the report, I did include some of the publicity that the event generated. We were in some of the more popular media outlets, The Monitor, Texas Border Business. Response was very favorable immediately after, within the week after. I know L&F, who was a smaller sponsor this year, has already committed to becoming a bigger sponsor next year, and I do believe that sponsorships will increase. Now, with the type of event it's becoming, I think we should be in good shape growing that number in the future.
And I know it's been in the past, not only is this a community event, but it's also an effort to I guess, for economic impact on our
Yes.
businesses. How do we go about gauging it? Like, is it making an impact on our businesses, local businesses here?
The only way that, up to now, that we've seen is the participation of our local businesses in the event. And this year, I know we grew to almost 30 vendors. Now, some are local mom and pops, but we did have some of our local businesses take place or participate in the event as vendors. The crowd was much larger than in years past. That is going to be an area of how we will restructure and reorganize the event to make it more profitable in the sense that we get the word out, that we promote adequately, that we solicit participation from sponsors, and not just sponsors monetarily, but even local businesses participating in the event. I think now we have a little bit better picture, clear picture of the size of the event, the type of the event, and the possible impact it can make. So one of the things that we're doing is we're already getting started with it. So as we know, it's the beginning of the year. Some of our businesses set their budgets early on in the calendar year. So we'll be visiting with some already to see if they'd be interested in being participating in the event as of now already, even though it's at the end of the year.
It's my understanding that the vendors, it's a first come, first serve.
Yes.
Is there a way where we could somehow notify our local restaurants, for example, local businesses, that the event is coming up and giving them the first opportunity to sign up to sell
Yes.
during these events? Because
Yes.
I know I had one that was trying to sell that day, and the item was already taken. And I'm not sure if the businesses that were going to sell that day, that particular product were from San Juan or not.
Okay.
But if we want to make that impact here
Sure.
for our businesses here in San Juan, I believe that we should offer them first shot at participating in the event.
Yes,
But it all
that-
goes
So we
back
can
to
do that.
finding someone that needs to go contact every single business. I mean, I know, I'm throwing a number out, it's about 300 businesses in the city of San Juan.
Correct.
And I know for a fact, based on the numbers, not everyone was contacted. I know there's different types of businesses we have in our community, food, clothing stores, just, different type of, businesses. But I think it's something that we are going to have to sit down and figure out to see. I know that DDC got another employee who can help out as well, who I believe Arjona is, I don't know if I'm going off, but that's part of her job duty, to go out and reach out to the businesses.
Right, that is correct.
And that's something that we really need to utilize, for her to help the Parks and Rec. I know you got Mr. Rodriguez?
Rodriguez, yes, sir.
Yeah, as well too, so that's something that we really need to be on top of and
And
make sure.
what we can probably do, now that we have a consensus as far as the businesses, San Juan businesses first, is when we open up for people that come in to register for whoever's gonna be selling as far as the vendors, maybe we can do it a couple of days before, only strictly for, vendors that reside within San Juan. And then when we do it to the public, then we'll do it in general. So if that vendor that is here in San Juan did not come on I like that idea that, reach out to the local vendors and see, invite them first.
You can also put it in the water bill saying, hey, this thing is coming up. The EDC can also send like a postcard announcing that, when the dates of those events are gonna be, and you start notifying those people different ways.
Her going out there and meeting with the businesses.
Also, do you know what was the population, the count on people that might have attended? Is there a
That
way we can gauge that?
I don't have, that is one thing that I think we really need to do in this event is target certain areas where people enter and just take a count. We've tried with the drone, but I know I drive IT crazy trying to get a number.
Get an idea, an estimated idea.
We'll get a,
drone
yes.
To see más o menos.
Yeah, we'll get an idea.
I know the crowd was bigger than last year,
Yeah.
in prior years, that I understand. I seen, I'm pretty sure you can gauge last year's pictures
Sure.
versus this one, kind of give you an idea.
Yes. No, it's definitely an event that we're going to have, even if it's a small committee within the city that's just working on it throughout the year, so that we cover all these bases, because they're all great ideas, and it's time. The event is getting to that, it's gotten to the point now where we have to address all these areas to maximize participation, sponsorship, all that, and to continue to put on a quality event for the city.
You got the next one?
Yes.
too, right?
Or in the San Juan Sports Complex.
So just a follow-up on the complex is the San Juan Sports Complex. The ballpark itself is Mayfield. It would just be called Mayfield, but
I believe the name was supposed to stay the same way, while we were naming it, it's a sport complex, because it's gonna be the whole.
right. The San Juan Sports Complex is the entire complex. One field is Mayfield. That was adopted by the city.
That's not what we agreed on.
Right, the San Juan Sports Complex is the whole, all three fields together. And then each field has its own name. Right now, three are named, which is, one is Mayfield, one is Arcaute. I will need direction from this commission as far as what we want to do with the third field. That will need a name. Right now,
Call it what, Desert Storm?
right now, it's called Desert Storm, but that's just an in-house name. The parks guys had labeled it, I guess, because the dust kicks up from there and the southeast wind, but that's not an official name. So, you know, however the commission would like to go with this, in naming of that field, you know, we can do that, and that way we can get the nameplates. Right now, we've got a temporary banner that says San Juan Sports Complex. We'll also be moving to getting something a little bit more permanent. That is our home, also our home base for our Friendly City 5K, which I guess now I can say is coming up on the 26th of this month. So register now, T-shirt deadline's next Monday. So only $15. And we start out of the sports complex as well. So we're trying to upgrade, move things along with that complex. Really, the last thing is going to be to name that third field for now. And then we'll be able to really kind of put it all together.
I believe the last time that it was brought before, it had to go through the school board because it is on school district property, not city property. I don't know if you want to.
Yes, and I believe I was informed they didn't have a problem with it, but I will follow up with it. Okay. Okay. I will follow up, and then I'll bring back that information so that we can move on with that. Thank you.
The next item on the presentation, we have departmental reports. I think we have everybody pretty much available, so should you have any questions. But before I start, I'd like to introduce Mr. Pat Carr. He's our new Director of Information Technology. This is the gentleman that just got hired with that position. Welcome, sir, again.
Welcome on board, sir. What was his name again? I'm sorry?
Pat Carr
Pat Carr. Okay. Got it.
with a K.
Any questions for,
If I may?
go ahead, sir.
Let me begin with Mr. Escobar. On your report, on the numbers, as you have garage sales, 133 garage sale permits were issued. I believe they made a mistake in the amount. Instead of being $13.30, they put $13.20 and 10 cents. I'm sure your records are correct, but for the report, the numbers aren't going to be correct.
Okay.
If you can make that adjustment. On your report, Mr. Leroy, it shows, let me just go in there real quick. Additional information, on a second bullet, you have maintained 28 funds during the months of October 2018 through September 2019. Is that, you're projecting,
That's what we
is
have
that up to date?
from October to date,
To date, January 2019,
till,
not September, huh? September, so okay, you're projecting throughout the whole year, okay. Just making sure. You mentioned also about renumbering our vehicles. I know I've seen in the past a sticker about reporting unsafe driving. I don't know who takes care of that also, since you're numbering. I know I've seen it in the past where it says report unsafe driving, and it has, I guess, the city hall number or the department number. I don't know if we can do that again, but I'm sure that'll help. In your report, you also list about brush, garbage, and alleys. Are there, I know I asked Mr. Roel Garza regarding the fees. Is there a fee for brush, a fee for alley cleanup, a fee for, no? There's no fees for any of that. So city services is just one, and it's for everything, it pertains to everything in general. Okay. Because I know you have them listed in your report separately, so I was wondering if it was the scene, has your children's librarian come up with a plan on how to improve the numbers? Yes. Yes? She's going to the schools. She's gonna be in schools? Is there a schedule? Starting the 8th, starting today? Today. She started? Yeah, she started working on a plan. Okay. She's gonna go to different schools. She took the homework
Uh-huh.
out, and she still has it for this year, because it was already set up. Right. But I have a report, and she changed the calendar, and she's been calling the school librarians. Okay. Today. Okay. So that she can go and drop the calendars and invite the school classes to visit the library. Perfect. So, yeah, she's working on that. All right, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Roel Garza, on your report, the street sweeper didn't go out this month?
On the street sweeper, Commissioner, it was not in operational, it wasn't in operation, so we had a come in. It is in operation now. We just hired our heavy equipment operator that's gonna operate the sweeper. He was being trained today. So those numbers are gonna reflect how many streets we are gonna have in the next coming month. Instead of the sweeper, though, we went out there with the bucket, with our utility tractor using the bucket, and we did scrape some of the streets, some of the debris that's on the streets. So we're trying to be as proactive as possible until we get that sweeper on the road. But they were out there today.
Thank you.
Mr. Garza, how are you doing with the brusher? How's that coming along? Are you, yeah, backed up, or where are you at?
On the brush, Mayor, we are 3 weeks behind.
Okay.
We're right now on the northeast side. We should finish by tomorrow or the next day. We only have 2 trucks in operation right now. One brush truck and one grapple truck. The other grappler truck is being serviced. The grapple itself, there was mechanical failure to it. We had 3 brush trucks, 2 of them went down. We're trying to create one serviceable truck out of the 2. These trucks are 1995s. They're over 25 years old. It's hard to find parts for these trucks, so we're doing the best we can. So we should be back on schedule. Hopefully the other 2 trucks come in. But we don't want to change zones until we finish that zone.
I know these operators are designated to those trucks. What is it that they're doing while these trucks are doing? Are we assigning them to do other duties?
Oh, we're doing cleanup around the Public Works office itself.
Okay.
And we're doing some storm drains. A lot of the employees are new hires, so we have training in effect. They're keeping busy.
If I may, one more. Chief Garza, I noticed on your report you have, you review plans, I believe, or
Correct. Yes, sir.
is there a fee that's assessed to those reviews, or is
No,
it
sir.
done for free?
No, sir. Commissioner, spoke with Mr. Arjona some time back that I'm currently looking into implementing a fee for that, probably within the next month or so. So I'll be getting some information from other departments that do have fees, so we can do a comparison and make the necessary adjustments if needed.
And those are the yearly fire inspections, correct, for the businesses?
Well, the plan review, sir, we don't charge. The yearly inspections, it's included with the planning, the renewal of the certificate of occupancy for each business. It's a minimal fee. I think from that, I think $15 or $10 is for the fire department inspection. But the plan reviews, that's a totally different situation.
Working on that one.
Correct, yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
The other one is for the health inspection. Where are we at? How far are we on having the whole health inspection? Yeah.
Any other questions for the directors? Now, we're going to go ahead and move on.
Next item on the public hearing ordinances, the first one is consider adopting an ordinance in the first reading for the voluntary annexation of the proposed in the Hosa Acre subdivision being a 2.0 acre tract of land out of Lot 7, Block 9, Lot 4, Block 13, and Lot 5, Block 13, John Klausner. Subdivision is provided on pages 4 and 5, Hidalgo County, Texas, located on South Nebraska Avenue along the north side of Conway Road.
Mayor, Commissioners, this is located on Nebraska and north of Conway. We've actually gone through the process, the public hearings, we sent out the letter. This is to actually do the first reading for the ordinance. The ordinance is broken down, it has Exhibit A, which is the actual map. Exhibit B has the meets and bounds, the legal description, and then C is the service plan agreement that's required. That's also signed by the property owner. Once we do the first reading, we'll have the second reading, and then once it's adopted, then we send the letters to all the agencies, the tax office, appraisal district, elections, so that they can add it to the city limits. And the city also updates our maps as well. So this is the first reading.
Questions at this time? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Second item, consider adoption of an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinance in the first reading of the City of San Juan, Texas by adding Article 4.11, Food Establishment Regulations under Chapter 4 Regulations to provide for the regulation of food establishments, including food service establishments, retail food stores, temporary food establishments.
So this is the actual health ordinance for the health division. Currently, the way it works, once you get a business permit, you actually have to go to the county to get the health permit. So now it'll be a lot more convenient for the business owners to just go to one location. So that's a positive for this health ordinance. The ordinance is broken down. You submit the application, you get the permit, we do inspections, and then also enforcement. We can go and inspect at any time, which it also details in the ordinance on how to do that process. We'll also, generate some revenues for the city as well. So it's a positive, it's a new division for the city, so it's something great for San Juan.
Would we, the workers at the concession stand be required to get a food handler's permit as well?
We're actually gonna send health inspectors to take a course for that. But any business owner would have to get a food handler's manager certification.
Right, but in this case, it's our,
There's actually a company that does it. They can go or do it online, but they have to bring that in once they want to apply for a health permit. They have to bring that in.
Just asking for concession stand within our, let's say, a baseball game that we're selling concession stand.
Yeah, eventually we'd have that, but, we our guys certified first. Is that what you?
this is for food handler's permit,
The ordinance?
right?
The ordinance is to do the whole division, the whole department, the division,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
To
To
establish
establish,
the- oh,
yeah.
this is- okay.
So instead of going to the county, they'll go to the city to get the permits.
Right, but
Yeah.
that's what I'm getting to. I know that, like you said, I mean, in order for people that are employed in this type of business, they would have to go to the county to get their food handler's permit.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
That's why I'm asking, would the workers that we hire here at the park at the concession stand,
Oh,
would they
yes.
have to
They'd have to
go
get
over
a-
there or come to you guys?
They would just get a temporary permit. So like for the event that we have, they'll
But
just
you
get
would
it.
handle that here?
Yeah,
They would need one, in other
Yeah, they would
words.
need one,
They
yeah.
would be required to have one.
and if it's 14 days or less, they get that. If it's anything over, to get the regular health permit. And it's broken down in the fees, in the ordinance.
Who would be doing these courses?
For us, be doing courses, they would actually have to go to that agency to get that food handlers and bring it to us, to the city, show us proof that they actually have that. And we'd give them a permit. Yeah.
Could also get a room and bring the
That-
agent in
Yeah.
here and do
That's
that
something
that
that
was
we
my
could
next
do
question.
also,
locally
yeah.
here. And the second of all, if they have a food handler from Hidalgo, McAllen, it's permitted.
We'll accept it,
We'll accept it.
yes.
Okay.
They
And
can-
once they.
once it expires
once
or-
it expires
yeah.
from their cities, we could kind of ask them to get it through San Juan, but,
Or if it's revoked, they'd have to get a new one, so it just depends. It's something that I've dealt with. We've had this department in other cities.
Regulate that, they allow other cities, food handlers permit? also?
No, it'd have to be either from the county or wherever they get it from. Some cities will give that course, but they usually get it from, it's a company called serve.com. It's actually a website where they do that.
Any other questions? If not,
will we have a fee if they get it through a web page and they don't not charge? Are we gonna fee for doing
For the cards, we have a
Yes.
fee for the card, yeah.
what would be that?
It's 15 or 20. It's listed in here.
That's where your department will generate some money to sustain that department.
Yes, if it's based on employees, you'll see the breakdown. If it temporary permit is $25, 10 employees or less, 100, 11 to 20 employees, 125, 21 or more, 150 for the health permit.
Now, that's for the food handlers. The permits have to be from San Juan for the businesses.
Yes.
Hold on, before we go on, this ordinance stipulates that they have to, if there's San Juan businesses, they have to come to San Juan, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Any other questions? If not, is there a motion to approve? Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Next item, Mayor Commissioners, this is an item that is called discussion and possible action on current brush pickup ordinance, but it's basically just discussion on this item, just to make you aware as to what, now that we're currently bringing in the code enforcer person, just to make you aware that this is an ordinance that is already in place, so that we can enforce. I know that the practice has been that residents can throw their brush behind their property, which the ordinance stipulates that you can't do that. So that's one of the things that we're starting enforcing already, is giving us good results. So if you go to page 70 of your agenda, that's pretty much what it says as far as number 1 through number 7, what can happen if there's a violation, which is, says that it can be punishable up to, not to exceed a dollar amount of $2,000 per fine. So just make you aware that I already spoke to Mr. Roel Garza in putting on the social media water bills, some literature that we're going to be educating our citizens as to what they can and cannot do.
Like a small video illustration on social media advising what the do's and don'ts and how to properly do these things?
Not, okay, not to exceed $2,000. Okay, all righty.
To give you an example of this is mainly like First Street, there's a lot of brush on the back of the property. Well, that's, according to the ordinance, we can't do that. Also Ridge Road, and I know that Mr. Escobar has been very good about sending the code enforcement officer over to let the people know that is not allowable. And they've been responding very well with that.
Well, if the residents are putting the brush out in front of their property, we just gotta make sure that it gets picked up when they're scheduled to. You know, cause I mean, I've seen it where sometimes it's in the way of their driveway, you know what I'm saying? But, okay.
But then most of the residents only have like 3 feet in front. So that's where it creates a problem.
Exactly.
But we just gotta kind of try to organize where, you know, we can pick it up and they know when it's gonna be picked up.
Like to do an educational type of maybe 2 to 3 months before we actually go in and hit the resident with a fine, so that people can become aware as to what the ordinance really stipulates. And this has been in place for, what is it, 2016, 15, if I'm not mistaken, or before that? And we have not really enforced this. But now that we bring in the code enforcement officer, would like to start enforcing this like since yesterday.
All right.
No action.
What's that?
No action on this.
No action? Okay. Go ahead.
Approve and enter into interlocal cooperation agreement between the city of San Juan, Texas, and the county of Hidalgo precinct number 2 to jointly undertake the reconstruction and new construction of certain portions of Moore Road. This is a street that is in heavily need of repairs. We have Mr. Mando Garza here with us from precinct 2 to talk to us about the project in hand. I think it's a very good project. The city's portion would only be at the cost of $65,000. See now.
How much?
65.
65.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. Mando Garza, Chief of Staff, Hidalgo County Precinct 2, Commissioner Eddie Cantu. It is my pleasure to be here today to discuss this new project. Before I start on that, I will also mention we have 2 other jobs, street projects that we're working in the city of San Juan. Number one, that will be coming up almost immediately will be Cesar Chavez will be doing an overlay. And I mentioned that first because we also have a much larger project that we're doing with Cesar Chavez. And Mr. Arjona and I will be coordinating a workshop to discuss that one a little more in detail so that you all can be aware of how that is progressing. And we've had some very good news in the last couple of months on that MPO project. But in the meantime, we're going to be doing an overlay beginning from Business 83 and going all the way to Hall Acres Road. That one we felt is very important for two reasons, particularly because our MPO project ends or begins, depending on your perspective, at Ridge Road. And so from Ridge Road to Hall Acres, the road's in pretty bad condition. And since that's not included in the major project, we really wanted to address the traffic on that. But also because from Business 83 to Ridge, it's already in pretty bad shape. And since we're about 2 years away from construction, we needed to do something on that. So that'll begin. Actually, prep right-of-way work began today on that Cesar Chavez project. The next project that we're working on, that we already have an agreement with the city on, and that we've already procured an engineer, Mr. Ronnie Cruz, who's here with me today, and that's Minnesota Road. And we expect that Minnesota Road will probably be going out to bid in about 2 to 3 months. And we'll be back to update you on that once that construction begins. Having said that, today we have before you Moore Road Extension Connection Project. This is something that when we first came to meet with this commission, and I know Commissioner Garcia was very interested in this particular project because of the danger right at the canal. It's a hairpin turn, as they say. I know that the city has done some work there, putting a four-way stop and painting the curb yellow. But we feel that, and I'm sure you feel that the same, that that's only a small precautionary measure, and we really need to look at the long term. One of the big things that we learned when we first came into the county was that the road that runs in front of the cemetery, where Moore Road currently goes, all the way to the curb just past the oil well, that is not city right-of-way, it is not county right-of-way. That is an easement that is owned by the irrigation district. We had spoke to the irrigation district about, rebuilding that road, and they did not give us permission to do that. They are of the opinion that we shouldn't be using that road, but they're not going to stop us because it's been used for so long, number one. And number two, they have to allow access, obviously, to the cemetery. So as we started looking at this project more and more, we learned that there is existing right-of-way directly straight from where the bend begins, and then straight through the irrigation canal, and then attaching to what is Moore Road on the other side of the canal. That's the way it was always supposed to be. That's the way that it was meant to be. We just didn't know. Having said that, we've been doing a lot of research on the existing easements with the help of Mr. Ronnie Cruz, who's here, that's also been procured to do this project. And what we've come to the conclusion is the best thing to do is to do a canal siphon that'll be very similar to what you see, for example, at the canal at Sergeant Trevino, Sioux Road, and Eldora. What we're trying to avoid is those old hills that go over. This will have a little bit of a dip, a little bit of a overpass, but you'll always have a clear line of sight. And as you can see in front of you on the schematic design, we will be starting pretty much from where that last street going east in that subdivision. We'll start new construction from there. We'll do a siphon through the canal, and then we'll meet up on the other side. And because there's some issues with right-of-way also on the other side of basically, the city's encroaching on people's private right-of-way. And so what we're going to do is we're going to move the road slightly to the north and put it right where it needs to be, where there is actually City of San Juan right-of-way. And also, it'll help make the road be completely as straight as we can make it, right? There's going to be a little curve, but to try to make.
There, Mr. Garcia?
There is absolutely a sidewalk, and so we will be taking that sidewalk out to move the road north a little bit. But we also, as if you can see here on the schematic design, we have proposed to rebuild the sidewalk, not only in that section, but take it all the way to I Road. So there'll be sidewalk from I Road all the way to San Antonio. So where right now there isn't, so, and I'm sure you've seen it, Mayor, kids walking in that bar ditch that's just to the north of the road as they're coming home. So now they'll have sidewalk all the way across, all the way to I Road, which is good for when we go out there on our bikes too. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be building a sidewalk. That'll have to be a separate agreement that we'll be bringing at a later date, and it'll be what we call Phase 2 of this project. But we'll talk about that one then. But that's already being designed, and that's proposed, and that's what our ultimate plan is for the city. This project has an approximate cost estimate of about $900,000. And we are asking the city for a $65,000 contribution. That's, I think, a fair deal. We always try to keep your participation low because we know that funds are tight. But I think that if we can all share a little bit in it, it makes us stretch the dollar. And so I'd ask for your favorable decision on this project.
Plan of the project
So right,
to start.
so right now, Commissioner Sanchez, what our main thing is we need to reach out to the irrigation district and get them to approve the engineer's design for the canal crossing. And then we have to coordinate with them, and we went through this when we did Sergeant Trevino and Sioux Road. We have to coordinate with the irrigation district when they have non-watering times of the year when they're not planting and watering, so that way they can lower the level of the water in there. So right now, we're still working on that with Mr. Sonny Hinojosa. We haven't shown him anything yet. We wanted to make sure that we had the okay from the city before we approached them. But so that you know, we'll need to reach out to them, coordinate with them when the best time is to do that canal siphon.
Your experience, what do you think they'll say in reference to this project? Because shouldn't
yeah.
you have already gone to the
So
table with them first? and
Well,
then-
so the thing is that we can't because we officially don't have your permission. So we really can't. Unofficially, I've already spoken with Sonny about it, and we've talked about it because we've done, in my experience, I've done 6 canal siphons of irrigation canals. And so I kind of just informed him, we're going to be using the same principles and the same similar design. Each canal is a little bit different because some of them are wider and some of them are more narrow. But he's very excited about this because what we will also end up, and so, like I said, unofficially speaking to him, he's very excited about it because one of the things that we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing what's referred to as a hard closure right at that corner. So traffic going east on Moore Road will no longer be able to come down towards the cemetery.
Right.
And so he's excited about that because they don't want traffic on that road. That road is only supposed to be for access to the few residential that are on the corner, the cemetery, and the gas company. It's not supposed to be for regular traffic. And so he's excited about the fact that, he's going to be able to have more space to do his maintenance work, or his vehicles are going to not have to worry about so much traffic in that area. So he's excited about it. What we'll meet with him more is on the technicalities of move it a little bit more this way or that way or higher or lower, and those things. But he's aware of it, and the district's been made aware of it. And I told him we would come back once we had the city's approval because, until you approve it, we don't have a project.
Got you. Okay. Any questions for Mr. Garza at this time?
You mentioned Minnesota. What part will you be doing from Minnesota? Would that be from veterans to 083?
No, that one will be, Minnesota will start on Raul Longoria all the way to Cesar
Cesar
Chavez. And we've already gotten approval from to move forward on that project. And that one was easy because it was a zero donation on that one.
There's no brainer.
Those are the good ones, right?
Bring more of those.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Garza.
Thank you
Appreciate
all.
your work.
Thank you.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Next item, preliminary and final plat approval of the Garco subdivision being a 3.66 acre tract of land out of Lot 9, Block 8, John Clausen subdivision located approximately 750 feet north of Nolana Avenue along the west side of Raul Longoria Road as requested by South Texas Infrastructure Group.
Mayor Commissioners, this is submitted by Gerardo Garza, Jerry Garza. It's located on North Raul Longoria and Nolana Road. It's a one-lot commercial plat. It's already zoned C2 general. It's actually an existing business, but what he's going to do is he's actually going to demolish it and build a new office. This has been reviewed by city staff, the engineer. Water is provided by North Alamo Water. There's an 8-inch line. City sewer, he's going to extend a 6-inch line. They're also going to install 2 fire hydrants for fire protection. Easements have been dedicated, 15-foot easements, and also the drainage report as well. So I don't know if the engineer's here, but the city does recommend approval. The Planning and Zoning Commission also approved it already.
Not, is there a motion to approve? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item, consider selecting and authorizing city manager to enter into a contract agreement with 2 bidders for weedy lot mowing services. This item, Mayor Commissioner, there were 3 bidders that came to the table, and we're selecting the top 2, or the last 2 bidders, lower cost. One of them is TDO Property, and the other one is Roberto Elichete from West Laco, Texas. Rene. And the cost on those proposals, you can find them on page 108, 113, and 126 respectively.
I see that I think the cheapest one is it Lopez from San Juan? Or am I seeing,
Just a moment.
was it Lopez, Mr. Rene?
Yes, sir.
Page 108, 113, and 126, is that correct, sir? So for the record, that's where you'll find the different bids for, on page 100 would be Ruben Lopez, page 113 would be Roberto from Wesico, and page 126 would be Molina Landscaping. So I don't know, I mean, you guys, give you a couple minutes to look at the bids.
We're using some of these people before, Mr. Urbana?
No, there's 2 that were from the past and then a new one submitted.
Do you know which 2 from the
I-
past, sir?
I think
T-
Molina and TDL.
Yeah, TDL and
There was one in the past that showed up after we approved them sometime back.
Yes, sir.
I understand that they had gone, but there was one that we had gotten, there was 2, but one would not be showing up and one was showing up. That's one.
One of them, here? Is he one of the bidders?
Even if one of the bidders was low, their past service isn't satisfactory, that would be a reason to exclude them. But in this case, staff is recommending the lowest 2 bidders.
You know, I understand that. I just want to make sure that, you know, we're going to get somebody to be dependable or reliable that, you know.
It just so happens to coincide with the performance also, so they're,
So,
what are you saying, Mr. Rene Jaime?
my understanding is that they've been satisfied with TDL. This second one that recommended is new. They've had experience with number 3. So my understanding is that they're satisfied with the one they are recommending.
no, if they have used the one that they're satisfied with the one before and then they're recommending a new one, so then I think so, though, it's not one of them that dropped out sometime back.
And I understand there's a lot of work, so having the 2 is important, so when one can't handle the work, the other one can carry on.
Yeah, I know, and I understand that, but I want somebody that's going to be dependable, and it's going to be here, because that's why the job got behind, because, you know, one of them all of a sudden wasn't coming, and then the other one was doing it on one side, and the other side was not. But fine, we'll go with that, and
And we can monitor those,
Yeah.
Mayor Pro Tem? Well, that's the staff recommendation.
staff recommendation.
Based on the lower bid, but we'll monitor that very closely.
So TDL and what is it, Roberto?
Robert, right.
Okay, is there a motion approved?
So move.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
The next item, consider authorizing the police chief to enter into a Homeland Security memorandum of understanding between the City of San Juan Police Department and the City of Mercedes Police Department to establish joint operational procedures for the Law Enforcement Emergency Regional Response Team. Mr. Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. This is a request from Mercedes. They recently established a new special crimes unit that's enforcing on specialized cases dealing with drugs in the city. So they asked us they wanted to do a MOU with us so we can request our special response assistance from our specialized unit.
And this is for Mercedes, correct?
City of Mercedes, yes, sir.
Let me ask you this. The other cities that assist, do you have MOUs on those as well?
Yes, sir.
You
Yes,
do?
yes, sir. We have MOUs with, this is our 25th city.
Really?
Yes, sir.
I asked Mr. Arjona, see if we can look for it in this.
Yeah, I want to say that we.
Yes, sir. We can send a
No,
copy.
I'm just,
Yes. So this is a new city that requested.
So it's pretty much standard.
Yes, it's standard. All the MOUs are standard.
So you're just picking up another city?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay.
We're picking up with those, another city requires them to put members also, right?
Yes, cities are required. Usually our team is composed of about 45 different officers from different agencies. So out of the 25 agencies, we got police, fire, and EMS. The majority are police, but we also have some fire. And they're required to have someone, assigned to us or to assist us. Obviously, if we go to the city, they are the lead investigators there. Their chief of police is in charge of the operation, and we just assisted. Like in this case, we assisted Mercedes when they requested us with HSI. So, they run the incident command, and we just do the operation itself, and we hand over the, whatever warrants they want us to execute for them, and then they take over the case. So anything that comes out of that, long-term or short-term, asset forfeiture, funding, equipment, we get a percentage.
Oh.
So everything we do, we get a percentage. Recently, something back, we assisted a federal agency, and we were able to seize a large amount of money. So that's why we do these MOUs. But of course, they have things that if our investigators need to go to their city to do a follow-up, which, we all have criminals that belong to every other city, so we go into their city with the assistant. We have a contact person that they can specifically go and they can help out each other with equipment, with stuff that we need to do operationally.
Any other questions for Chief? Not, is there a motion to
So
approve?
moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
The next item, consider entering into interlocal agreement between the City of San Juan and Hidalgo County for the rural emergency services. Chief?
Good evening, Commissioners. This is our renewal for our ETJ, for our fees that we charge the county for our extraterritorial jurisdictions. It's renewed every 3 years. We've revisited it in several occasions to increase some of the fees. So in 3 years, we'll go back and reconsider, or have them get with the county in renegotiating the fees later on in 3 years.
What areas cover, I know the road like Lopezville, part of Lopezville?
Mayor Pro Tem, the Lopezville is no longer ours,
Okay.
but we still respond. It hasn't been, the 911 hasn't been changed, so we still cover it. So we, pretty much when we go out there, we classify it as mutual aid to FAR. Currently, anything south of Moore Road, all the way to the river, and I Road and Cesar Chavez.
Is there a motion approved?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Chief.
Current schematics configuration of the off and on ramps with TxDOT. This is an item, Mayor Commissioners, that when we visited with the Mando Martinez, one of the recommendations was for the city to come up with a resolution that will not necessarily oppose of the project per se, but oppose the current schematic, and maybe urge them and have them redesign the off and on ramps. So we've got some letter of support from a couple of car dealerships such as Lexus, and I just spoke to Mercedes-Benz during the noon hour, and they're all in favor. And this is one of the things that we would like consideration so that it doesn't hurt the businesses when they build the off and on ramps. These off and on ramps, they call them the braided ramps, and it's gonna take away some of the visibility for the dealerships and the businesses along the frontage. And in some instances, it is going to be hurting our property taxes, sales taxes on these frontage business owners. So we're asking for approval on the resolution so that we can present it to the legislature.
Okay. And you said you got letters from Mr. Contreras?
I got the commitment, yes, the letter of
who-
support from
and who
Mr.
else?
Contreras, and the other one is a verbal with Lexus, with Mercedes-Benz. But because of the fact that they're a Mercedes-Benz, Land Rover, and Acura, we need to get it with the main president. And that's one that I'm still trying to contact with. But he's already been made aware.
They were in favor for it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there a motion approved?
So move.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Item discussion and possible action on all the following matters. Consider the approval of budget amendment in the amount of $9,018 from Municipal Court Technology Fund. This particular item, there was encode upgrade that came over to the municipal court. And this is what was not accounted for during the budget, because one of the things is that we didn't know when they were gonna be available for the upgrade. If I'm saying something wrong, Ms. Enriquez, please cut me off. But it was for the upgrade, and so they're charging us for the upgrade on the encode 10, and also the yearly maintenance on the cash drawer maintenance fee, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
that's
Yes.
correct. Mhm.
So the municipal court is already up to par as far as the software. And this is what the charge is now. The charge is not coming from the general fund, it's coming from the municipal court technology fund.
Any questions for Mrs. Mary? If,
Yes, we were live today with Encode 10.
is there a motion approved?
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Valves, fittings, manhole covers, pumps and motors, as surplus and salvage items for final disposal at auction or salvage yard, and authorizing city manager to execute all related documents. Mr. Salinas.
Good evening, Mayor Commissioners. As discussed, we'd like to declare several items, as you can see from the pictures that we present in the agenda. They're pipe, old broken valves that we replaced as we have water breaks and done different water projects. There's also some pump housings and volutes and stuff like that we can't use. They really don't have a monetary value. I did have a discussion with the purchasing director who's in charge of that. None of the items out there at its whole cost. Well, nobody would be willing to pay $500 or more and then try to repair them. We do have some items that I'll be bringing later on that do cost more money. I'm just trying to get somebody to give me a good value price for that one. But these are just old manhole covers, sections of pipe, old fire hydrants that are broken, old valves and stuff like that. We just want to declare them salvage so we can take them to the scrap yard, get some money based on weight, and then bring it back to the city.
Any questions for Mr. Salinas? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Oh, I have a question.
Go ahead, sir.
We can't give this to the recycling center so they can generate revenue from it, or do you look for, you looking for that revenue for the department?
Technically, the commission would have to donate it. Under the Public Utility Code, any items that are funded through utility funds have to be returned back to the utility because it's customer paid for. So the only way that would happen is if the commission would be willing to do an asset transfer over into the sanitation fund. Yeah.
Motion approved? Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Next item, discussion and possible action authorizing the mayor to enter into memorandum of understanding between the City of San Juan and Research, Applied Technology, Education and Service, DBA rates, RGV, for preparation of a regional Texas pollution discharge elimination system, stormwater permit application, and stormwater plan for the Lower Rio Grande Valley TPDES Stormwater Task Force.
Again, Mayor's Commissioners, if you may recall, back in July of 2018, I had brought an item to the agenda to the commission, very similar to this, but back then there was an interlocal agreement with the university. The university is trying to transition a lot of these programs to the rates program, which is the Research, Applied Technology, Education, and Service. It's basically a nonprofit that belongs to the university to make it easier to transition and allow for a speedier process of doing this type of work. And this one will be through the task force, of course, that we're a member of, and this is to put the annual report and the stormwater plan together for the next 5 years.
Questions for Mr. Salinas?
They're requiring payment 14 days from the approval? Is that
Yes,
correct?
it's already been approved. Actually, we had a check issued. They just sent it back because they sent, so it would really matter just of getting paid. It is funded. It's in the budget. You guys did approve it, yes.
To approve?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Discussion and possible action to authorize city manager to execute a purchase agreement for 2 half-ton crew cab pickups from the buy-board vendor Caldwell Country Chevrolet in the amount of $44,670 and execute all related document and budget amendment as needed. Mr. Garcia.
Good evening, Mayor's Commissioners. In the current budget, we have a crew cab and a regular cab budgeted, which the total amount budgeted was $41,000. What we are proposing is to submit a budget adjustment so we can purchase 2 crew cabs instead of one regular cab. This will allow us to be more effective and expedite our crews to the job site, get boots on the ground a lot faster. The difference is $3,670. The price of each crew cab is about $22,335. A total of $44,670.
An adjustment, not an
Doesn't
amendment.
be the adjustment.
Adjustment, correct.
From within the same,
In the same line.
Line item. Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries.
next item, discussion and possible action to authorize city manager to execute a purchase agreement to purchase a 2016 Peterbilt 567 SF. It's a roll-up truck for the purchase price of $137,000 and execute all related documents and budget amendment as needed.
In the current budget, we have a bus truck grappler and a bus truck, $108,000 for each truck. That's a total of $216,000. A brush truck grappler, a low-end grappler costs you about $150,000. High-end is $180,000. So that's not enough money for us to purchase a grappler. A brush truck runs you about $95,000 to $100,000. What we're proposing is to, right now we have a rental roll-off. It's a 2016 model. It's very well maintained. We want to see if we can submit a budget adjustment and purchase a roll-off that will give us 3 roll-offs. One's in the shop, should be in operation in about 2 to 3 weeks. So we continue and try to better our services. And again, it's a budget adjustment.
Any questions for Mr. Garza?
Right now we have two, yes, I do, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Go ahead, sir.
We have two grapplers right now, one's in the shop, so we have one operational. We had one on the budget to purchase, so we would've had three. So we're going back to two, keeping the two that's still broken and the one that's operational, correct?
Correct. But I think in the meetings coming forward, we are gonna propose.
Okay.
Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
Next item, discussion and possible action to authorize city manager to execute a purchase agreement to purchase a Patriot 52-inch skeg riding mower for the purchase price of $5,839 and execute all related documents and budget amendment as needed. Purchases to be made via buy board vendor, MAE Power Equipment under buy board contract 539-17. Mr. Garza.
The purchase of the SCAG mower is, the total price, like Mr. Arjona mentioned, is $5,839. What was approved was $3,000. Again, we are proposing to submit a budget adjustment so we can purchase a SCAG mower, which will be more effective than the zero riding mower at that price. This is for the right-of-ways. Correct, and we'll stay within the budget. We're not asking for a budget amendment, it's an adjustment.
Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Discussion and this is more like a notice regarding the upcoming general election to fill the terms that will expire May 4, 2019 for Commissioner. It says place 2, I believe it's a typo, place 4 and place 5. Again, this is just a notice of the upcoming election. At the next meeting, we'll do a call of the election. No action. The next item, discussion and possible action to amend the current Chapter 380 agreement, Economic Development Incentive Agreement between the City of San Juan and San Juan Lexus Land Venture LTD. On this one, Mayor, Commissioners, before you, let me see what the page is. Where am I? Yes, on page 198, there's a letter from K-League Auto Group stating that their anticipated date of completion at the Lexus dealership was supposed to be 2017, but they finished a year later. If you look at the 3-year agreement that was approved by the previous mayor,
Two ten, huh?
I'm sorry?
It's on 210.
Page-
That, yeah, what you're
Yes,
talking about.
page 210.
Page 210.
It's already been approved, executed. However, what K-League is asking is for an additional year to push it forward because of the fact that they didn't finish on that estimated date. They finished a year ahead of time, I mean, in front of it. So instead of starting from the 2017, they'll start 2018. So they're asking for that approval. Nothing is gonna change, nothing has been paid to K-League. However, they're only asking for your consideration in that instead of saying 2016, 2016 will become 2017, 2017 will become 2018, and so on for the next 5 years.
Ms. Chris, did you see that? And did you review that? Yes. So where are we on that? Are we okay as far as going that route? And
Yeah, you can, but of course, like I told Mr. Arjona, it would have to be brought to you also, you could approve it.
Okay.
Because it's a change in dates and things like that.
But even though we're pushing it back 1 year, even though the contract or whatever they signed was,
It's still gonna be the 5 years, you're just moving the dates.
okay.
Yeah.
No, I just
Still
wanted
gonna-
to make,
yeah.
as far as in the legal aspect of this, we're
Yes.
okay?
Mhm.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item on the consent agenda, we have a couple of items there. Obviously, the commission can pull any item for adequate decision. We have the monthly collection report for 2018, budget expenditure report for November 2018, those two items.
At this time, is there anything, any members of the commission that need to amend or modify under consent agenda? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Under executive session, the San Juan City Commission will convene an executive session in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act Furnace, Texas statutes and code sanitary government code chapter 551.071, consultation with attorney, and Texas Government Code 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiation. Pursuant to section 551.087, economic development negotiation deliberation regarding financial incentives to a business prospect, Project Square. Item number 2, pursuant to section 551.074, personnel matters, discuss the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of public officer or employee, municipal court judge, and city manager.
This time we'll be going in executive session at 7:24. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll be in executive session at 7:24 PM. back from executive session at 8:05 PM. Is there a motion to reconvene?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're back. Go ahead. On, where are we at? On executive session under item A1. There's no action on that one, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. All right. Go ahead.
Next item.
Next, go ahead.
Second item is on the personal matters with the municipal court judge. We'll need a recommendation. There was only one.
So motion to appoint Jorge Zambrano, the loan applicant for the position of municipal judge.
Second.
Before we take a vote, I'd like to say a couple things. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and oppose that, just for the simple reason that we didn't budget for that position, that's one. There's no justification for having another judge. And the third thing is the application process. I believe you had it open for how long, Mr. Juan? 5 days, sir. So this time I'm opposed, but let's go ahead and take the vote.
For the record, I also want to say that when we ran for the, when we ran a race, we told our taxpayers that we're going to clean up the city, and we need to start enforcing our codes. And I think so that we either start doing something going forward. Budgeting, I think so that the budget will come with the revenues that come in there, and we have always adjusted or made changes on the budget that we can still do.
So with that being said, there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, aye. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Wait.
Oh,
wait,
I'm
wait,
sorry,
wait, we got one.
City manager, I'm sorry.
Okay. At this time, I want to make a motion on, go ahead and extend this, continue with the contract with Mr. Juan as the city manager for 1 year.
1 year. I'll go ahead and second that, sir. There's a motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Is that it? Yeah. Now there's a right? No. Motion to reconvene? I'm sorry, to adjourn?
Adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This meeting has been adjourned at 8:08 PM.